David Steinhardt, co-president of Clarity Capital, joins us now on the phone from New York for a discussion on the market impact of the midterm elections. Mr. Steinhardt.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. What is the impact on the markets of the American midterm elections?
Well, yesterday we saw the impact. The stock market went up. It didn't go up a lot, but it did go up. And I think the reason is that Republicans are perceived as good for business. And with the Republicans taking control of the House and the Senate, I think there's a sense of hope that maybe this sense of gridlock that's held back the government from producing positive momentum legislation that will help the economy, that gridlock will get broken. And some of those legislation ideas where the Republicans and the president might come together, things like corporate tax reform, things like a positive outcome on energy policy, the Keystone Pipeline, for example. Mitch McConnell, the new head of the Senate, and the president both made positive comments on different aspects of legislation where they may be able to find some sense of compromise going forward. So I think for the moment, there is a sense of optimism that what's plagued the U.S. government for Obama's 6 years as president, there is maybe a sense of hope that might change. How long that lasts, though, I don't know.
Clearly, I mean, Americans are ready for a change, also in terms of the gridlock, in terms of the economy, which is still kind of sluggish. I mean, but historically, at the same time, markets rise after midterm elections, generally speaking. Why is that so?
I think it's mostly what we were talking about before. It's a sense of optimism that things will change. I think what's interesting is that while the economy is growing slowly, it is very slow growth. And I think what the vote says about where Americans are, where sentiment is today, is a lot of dissatisfaction with where things are. To me, it was not so much a vote for Republicans as a vote against the way things are, against Obama, and the sense of a lack of compromise in getting things done. So I think really the reason why the market went up yesterday, and again, I'm not so sure it continues, is this idea that things will be better going forward. But again, hope is free, and everyone can hope. It's something you can do, but how long that lasts, again, I would be more pessimistic about that.
Right. So based on what you said, the rise that we saw in the markets could really just be sort of the rise that we generally see following midterm elections. But in the long run, it will be clearer how the Americans' vote will affect the economy. Is that true?
I think that's right. But I think, one other thing to think about here is that President Obama, he has very low ratings approval, as do Republicans, by the way. So it's more of a sense of a negative attitude toward what's going on in government. But you have Obama is in his last 2 years of being president. And I think maybe he has more of a sense of urgency to try to do a better job when it comes to talking to Republicans and compromising on legislation. And it's really the same thing for the Republicans. And I think one of the biggest issues to keep in mind now that this election has passed, is what's coming next. And what's coming next is the 2016 presidential elections.
Okay,
and
so
for Obama's legacy to be as good as possible is to make sure that he does a good job so a Democrat gets elected.
Right.
And at the same time, the Republicans, want to not screw it up as they so often do, and they're thinking about what's coming up in that election.
Okay. Now, what can we expect from the U.S. economy with a Republican-run Congress and a Democrat president in his last 2 years in office?
Well, I mean, this is one thing I would say that always sort of amazes me is you think back, if when George Bush was our president, George W. Bush, there was a conservative Republican, very pro-business. And look what happened to the economy.
Right.
It was pretty bad. Look what happened to the stock market. It fell apart.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you had this liberal Democrat we elected, and the economy, while not great, has been good. All these jobs have been created, as you just said earlier on your show, and the stock market has been making new highs. So I'm not so sure that we can connect necessarily the president of the economy.
I guess time will tell. Time will tell. David Steinhardt, thank you so very much. David Steinhardt from Clarity Capital. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.